Hello, you're listening to the Auntie M podcast, Series 2, Surviving Self-Care. And Auntie P is back, so let's get started.
Hello, how are you today, Auntie M?
Hi, Auntie P. I'm not doing great today. So, and it's nice to see you and, talking about self-care, just sort of summing everything up. I think it'll be good because I'm sort of struggling a bit today. But anyway, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've been, I think I'm doing quite well on self-care recently. So I'm feeling quite chill. Also, it's half term, so I've had like 3 days of not thinking about work, which is
absolutely. I mean, I would feel that way, except I've got kids, so half term is still work. How was ABBA?
ABBA was excellent, and I highly recommend going if you can afford the £75 of tickets. Right. But I went for free because I've got a friend who works in a hotel where ABBA was staying, so they got free tickets.
What?
Yeah. To like the rehearsal performance.
Did she see ABBA?
Yeah, she saw ABBA. And
wow.
ABBA Voyage it's called, and it's in East London, and they built a special stadium and they've got like 3D avatars of ABBA and then a live band.
Wait, do the avatars look like them now or them back in the day?
Them back in the day, but they got them now to do the dances wearing suits, and then they created avatars of the young them. Yeah, wearing like special motion capture.
Yeah, I know. I like the way you said suits.
Motion capture suits.
You know what? I think even if you're not a fan of ABBA, that sounds like a good night out.
Yeah, because actually everyone I went with wasn't a fan of ABBA, and they had a lovely time, and I had a great time. I was singing all the songs.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if you're not a fan of ABBA, you know words to at least 4 or 5 songs. You're going to join in, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think they came out for real. Old ABBA now, they came out for real at the end and like waved, but Seba said, my partner says that they didn't, and it wasn't for real.
Oh. Well, if they were staying in... okay, right. We'll have to look that up. If anybody knows, was that the real old ABBA?
Only at the rehearsal one. I think according to my friend Phil on Facebook, who did go to the first night, real ABBA did come on stage. He thinks it was real ABBA.
Right, okay.
So, who knows?
Do you know what I went? Emails. Let us know if you were there. Real old ABBA. Hashtag real old ABBA.
Sorry, ABBA. It was a great show.
Right. Okay. Well, it was a good show. I mean, it could be the future. We just get like holograms of celebs.
They were at pains to point out it's not holograms; it's avatars.
Oh, it's avatars.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. I did read last but then I forgot.
Right. Okay. Well, do you know what? It's too early in the morning for me to start getting my head around that tech. I shall ask the tech support in the house and he'll explain it to me.
Ah, good.
Let's move on with our own show. Over the last 6 weeks, we've covered loads of aspects of self-care in our Surviving series, as well as a bit of Joe bashing.
Sorry, Joe.
Sorry, Joe. Kicking off, we started off with mental health, and we both opened up about our experiences with the NHS and services and ways to connect with mental health. Do you have anything following up on that, P?
No, just to say... Our friend messaged us to say that it was brave, and I think, thank you. It is brave, I think, for anybody to talk about mental health, but it's a dialogue that needs to happen, and the more people that start opening up and start talking about it, the better, because the more people can heal and the less chance of people getting into really, really negative spirals and getting sick. super sick.
Well, I actually found that it's weird. I can talk to you and the podcast, and I know the podcast is going out publicly, but I feel I can be quite open about it. But there's still lots of people in real life who have no idea what I've gone through. And it was funny because while doing the show, because I was in a show, which was kind of keeping me going, I had an absolute breakdown. And I was just sobbing and having a panic attack. And then it was funny because they were like, what's wrong? And, everyone was going, what's wrong? And I was crying even more. Every time somebody looked at me, I was like, eh. And then somebody said to me, I said, look, I suffer from panic attacks every now and again. I have such high anxiety. And they're like, we thought you were this like bohemian rock chick mum babe who had it all together. And I was like, thank you, but no, I don't. But it's weird, isn't it? It's that face that you put on and people think, oh, that person's got it together, and you can hide it really well. And then actually that person is totally struggling and suffering. And I felt ashamed to say it, I think it's that stigma of, if your leg's broken, you're kind of going, look, I've broken my leg because it's right there. Everyone's going to ask you about it. But mental health is so hidden, and it's, So I just...
How did the people react to you?
Well, they kind of gave me a bit of space, and I had a few people calling me over and having a private chat. And one person said, oh, she's got mental health problems. And then she said, I think she sort of said, why didn't you let us know? And then we could have been there to help you.
Yeah.
But it's quite hard, isn't it? I mean, if somebody's allergic, like, people who are allergic to peanuts and they've got pets, like I think we were saying this before, like you say to everybody, I'm allergic to peanuts. If I have a fit, you need to do this. But it's quite hard to sort of say in rehearsal to 50 people you don't really know that well. Hello, I suffer from anxiety. If I start weeping and breathing in an erratic manner, please wrap me in a warm blanket. Give me a paper bag.
Maybe we need to make some badges. Maybe we can make some Auntie M badges.
Yeah, man. Just like I have a mental health issue. Be kind, or something like that. Like the badges they have for trains. They have baby on board.
Yeah,
they're not necessarily showing. I think we should have a badge. Let's do that. I'm going to do that. Right, I'm on the case.
But what about afterwards? Did you feel, in the weeks following, did you feel that people were treating you differently, or were relating to you differently, or judging you, or were they supportive, or were they not bothered?
I think it was just a mix of everything, and I think it's kind of like I did open up to my roomie, who was Vicky, by the way. I got roomed in the show. I shared a rehearsal room with Vicky, who was on the show for aging, and I opened up to her a little bit more. And then I think people were aware of it, but I kind of bounced back, and it was like, and carry on, But now I suppose now they know that I sometimes will have that reaction. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, I think then at least those people are more aware of it. And maybe, okay, I think what I should have done is found somebody who I connected with and told that person, and then there's one person at least. Whether it's at work or your friendship group, I think there should be just one person you say to them, like, this is going on, FYI, so that when it does happen, the person can sort of say, no, it's okay. She's just, I'll deal,
They can communicate for you.
Yeah. I think you just need that, at least just that one person, and to not be, yeah.
Sorry, do you still feel the sense of shame that you felt when it happened? Or do you feel okay that it happened?
Oh, I still feel quite embarrassed. I do feel embarrassed. And then the more I was crying, the more embarrassed I felt. But literally the tears were just streaming down my face, and I couldn't breathe. So I was like a child, when they properly have a meltdown, like, and I was like, ugh. And we were singing and we were having to sing with the band. It was a rehearsal with the band, and everyone was getting up and singing songs on mic. And then it was my bit, and I had like one line on my own, and I was like, it's just sat in the corner going. Of course, then everyone's looking at you.
Well, I think that you should not feel shame or embarrassment because you couldn't have controlled that.
No, I couldn't calm down. I was absolutely very overwhelmed that day. But anyway, I think what comes out of that is that you do need to tell somebody, because when it happens and nobody knows what's going on, you know, it becomes more of a fuss, where actually I could have just done with somebody saying, it's all right, you don't need to be here, just go and lie down quiet somewhere, you know. Just the same way as if you had a a health condition and somebody says, no, you've done too much, go sit down, and we'll anyway so that was mental.
Good learning. And again, it's that thing about knowing when to step in for yourself and when to maintain it for yourself, and sadly, like how much, well, maybe not sadly, but in the way of life, sod's law, that you have to kind of advocate for yourself in those circumstances. And guys will be getting those badges out to you ASAP.
Yeah, I know. We're definitely going to do some mental health badges. So next up, we followed that with exercise with my amazing, lovely sister-in-law, Aoife Doran. And our main takeaways from that was just get going. It's never too late to start. And begin with any movement, even if it's just taking a walk, and just get yourself moving. I mean, I think, do you know what we had was feedback on that about being in the gym and being totally red-faced and sweaty.
Yeah.
I had a few people saying that they do hate that, but that they're glad somebody said it so that we can all just take a moment that we're all together at being completely red and sweaty.
And we had some beautiful red face photos sent through to us as well.
Yeah, we did. So thank you. You know who you are, you lovely sweaty person. The third episode, we talked about diets. We talked about Kim Kardashian and getting into her Marilyn Monroe dress. And we talked about different diets and lifestyle choices rather than, you know, short-term suffering. And I mean, did you get any feedback from that, P, about diets? And
not massively. I mean, well, we got the feedback that spaghetti hoops are vegan or are not vegan.
No, not all of them are.
Not all spaghetti hoops are vegan. But yeah, no, I mean,
I'm very upset about spaghetti hoops.
One thing with both the exercise and the diet podcast for myself were that I found Aoife really, really inspiring, and I have been I've been like congratulating myself for the exercise I do. So my cycle in the morning, I've been up in my gear a little bit and actually weirdly thinking about her quite a lot on my morning cycle, and just pushing myself a little bit harder to go a little bit faster on a higher gear, and also taking more walks, thanks Aoife. So that's been really, really positive.
Yeah. Aoife's one of those people, I mean, she's absolutely stunning, but when you spend time with her, you don't feel intimidated. I think there's a feeling of intimidation when you're
from
at the
beautiful
gym.
People.
Yes, you know, like, oh my God, I have to be like this to go to the gym, or to be, you know, to kind of feel good about what you're doing. And I think she's great because she just is so accepting and you know, she's motivating and without putting any pressure on. So yeah, I mean, she's great, and I'm really glad that we had her on the show. We'd love to have her back. And we had, and I have been trying to exercise more. I've had a little blip because I'm we're going to talk about this in a bit. I haven't really been looking after myself. And so everything's fallen apart. So I need to take a moment just to gather myself up again. and get going. But exercise really does make a huge difference. I know for me in my life, I feel so much better when I've done a workout.
Mm.
Um, I have to congratulate myself more because I think, oh, I didn't push myself hard enough, and I shouldn't look at it that way. But anyway, um,
So with diet, how's your diets going?
not great either because of show week. I just ended up living. I needed sugar. I was getting up doing a day as a mum.
Mm.
I mean, that's the thing. When I was thinking about this with amateur dramatics, right? With a professional, if you're a professional actor, you know you're working unsociable hours. So
Mm.
therefore, your day is shifted because your work is in the evening. But with
Hmm.
people who are in amateur dramatics, they're still working full-time jobs all through the day and then coming and doing rehearsals in the evening and doing the show at night. We weren't getting out. I wasn't getting home till midnight,
It's
most nights
amazing.
from the show, and it's tough, man. So I think if you support your local groups because they're putting in a lot of work in their spare time. But I was just living off literally Haribo and Coke Zero, because I needed the sugar. I needed it to go on stage and put all that energy. I needed sugar. So of
And
course I'm
caffeine.
like, and yeah, the caffeine from the Coke. So I was like, literally like, now I'm like, I've got a taste for it now. So I need to kind of detox myself from all the Haribo I ate.
Well, yeah, but sugar's addictive, and
Oh my God.
yeah, so you probably just got a bit hooked, and you need to, yeah, you do need to detox. But you just reminded me with you drinking Coca-Cola of you at 13, caning down like we used to go out, and she just used to. I know you don't drink a lot of alcohol, but you used to go so mad on Coke, full fat Coke. But yeah, so funny.
People would be like, look, watch what Merv does. Watch what she does. Take this Coke. And I'd be like, what? And they'd be like, chug it, chug it. I mean, it was like, instead of like a beer, it would be a Coke. And I'd be like, glug, 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 glug. And I'd be like, then I was literally like Beavis and Butthead. I'd be like, and everyone would be like, look at her go. It's like winding up a toy at the back.
Yeah, exactly. But you definitely had.
I'd be talking to people going, I love you so much and I love your hair and I love your shoes. Bye.
But you definitely had some of that energy in the show. It was a brilliant show, got to say. I don't know, what's the name of the group? Can you give them a plug? Because they were brilliant.
It's the West Wickham Operatic Society, and we desperately needed support from people to come and see the show. That's in the Bromley Churchill, and the next show is Calendar Girls. I don't know when that is.
Come on, everybody. Naked ladies.
Yeah. and yeah, and I've got to plug my other theatre, which is Theatre 62, which is where I go in West Wickham. So now you can all stalk me because I've just given away.
I would say
all our fans,
all our fans,
all five of them.
But, Theatre 62, I've got to say, is lush. It's like a little black box village hall type space, and they put on some really interesting shows. And they're always well directed, high quality pieces. Yeah. So if you are local to like sort of Bromley, Croydon, that way, it's really worth checking them out. Yeah, and the West Wickham.
There's loads of theatre groups in this area, and anyone that's listening to the show, check out your local theatre, little Amdram place, and go and see them and support them, because these people are giving up their time to put on shows, and the tickets are not selling because of COVID, because of money. So if you have some spare time and spare cash, go and support people, whether it's a choir or a show or a dance or something. Just go and be part of it, because honestly, it's a good night out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I took 3 friends to go and see Made in Dagenham, which was the West Wickham Operatic Society. Is that right? Yeah. At the Churchill. The Churchill is this beautiful, massive 800-seat theatre. The show was so professional. Like, we were blown away. And yeah, it was amazing what they were able to do. Like Mercedes says, in your spare time. It was so good. So I think you deserve a bit of sugar for that.
Right. Thank you.
Not going to lie, but it was brilliant.
I thank you so much for coming, and I might put a few pictures up from the show, and because we're going to have a break after this series. So on the 4th episode, we covered aging, and aging gracefully or disgracefully with the wonderful Victoria Watkins.
Yeah.
Oh, she was amazing.
What an inspiration.
Yeah, amazing lady. And she came on and just surprised us. I mean, I thought I kind of had an idea of what she was going to say. And she just surprised us with, so many people got in contact with the show talking about her clubbing in Ibiza. And they were like, right, we're going to go. If she can go, we're going to go. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So clubbing in Ibiza, lovely long-term relationship with her husband, 50-year marriage, and talking about maintaining that and balancing that relationship. She made me feel a lot better about menopause, and I think
Yeah.
very wise advice about HRT, similar to as we were talking about on the first episode with antidepressants. She said with HRT, she said, why suffer needlessly? And actually, I've passed that advice on to a couple of my friends who are perimenopausal, and I just said, you've got to try a few different things, but actually,
Yeah.
why put yourself through it if you
Because I
don't have
think,
to?
yeah, I think we definitely feel like you put yourself down the list, you're having all these problems. But I think, no, we don't have to suffer needlessly. And I think that's important. And she really kind of made us both feel really quite hopeful and inspired that we weren't becoming invisible women,
Mm.
that there is life and that there is so much more to be had and found and enjoyed.
And another thing that she really inspired me with was weight and image and the kind of issues about being thin and stuff like that. And she said that when her children were young, she was so worried and always on a diet, and she wished she hadn't been so bothered because she was beautiful. And I
Yeah.
think that for me, that was it just took the pressure off a bit
Yeah.
and made me feel.
Honestly, I think the worst critic of yourself is you. No one else thinks you're that ugly or fat. Whenever you say, "Oh, God, I'm so fat," people go, "What? What are you talking about?" But you're your own worst critic. And I think what I'm doing, talking about mental health, the CBT, is a lot of it is reframing. So, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm so fat," you kind of have to say, "Yeah, I'm not stick thin, but I'm curvy and I'm okay with, and I look nice in these clothes." And, just try and reframe it, because when you're so negative to yourself, it is going to put a weight on your shoulders. And I mean, I think she's absolutely beautiful. And, when a person feels good about themselves and when they're a lovely person, that shines through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it makes you a more like a beautiful person because it's shining through,
Yeah, and I do think as well, in terms of being your own critic, people say be your own best friend, and they say, watch out for negative self-talk, and that is so true. Like, I back when 2010-ish, I've got a lovely friend from Moscow called Olga, and she would wake up every day, and or if we were having a down day or a sad day, she would grab my hands, look into my eyes, and she'd go, "I'm beautiful, I love my job. I'm beautiful, I love my job." And that was like our little mantra. But actually, I find those mantras so helpful, just to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say something positive. And not going to lie, don't do it every day, but I do like it when I'm nice to myself.
Yeah, it does make a difference. Positive affirmations.
That's what they are.
We need that on a badge that says, "I'm beautiful, I love my job," and then another badge, "But I'm also a nervous wreck." So
you could wear one on each nipple.
Yeah, they're specifically nipple badges. In the last episode, unfortunately, Auntie P wasn't here, but we were joined by my actual lovely sister, Auntie H, and we discussed loads of things about relationships and family. I mean, obviously our episodes are about half an hour long. It's not enough time to discuss everything. But it was nice to actually spend some time with my sister in a way that we wouldn't normally, asking each other questions, and yeah, it was just a really nice time to spend with her, and I'm glad that I could share that. She's actually said she said, oh, I loved it so much, she said, I'm going to keep it and put it on when I'm feeling low to cheer me.
It was really funny. I loved it. And I love her voice. She's just got a lovely...
No.
I don't know, like her voice is like a cuddle. I don't know how. It's just so nice.
Yeah, she's got a very... I said to her, you've got a very lovely presenting voice. Which is perfect. So she really enjoyed coming on the show, and I'm sure she'll be on again at some point. I'm sure she'll be back to share some of her wisdom with us. And really that leads us to the end of series 2, in the sense of that we hope that these episodes are kind of a little bite-sized moment for you to kind of maybe get some inspiration or motivation about looking after yourself and taking a moment to love yourself and be calm and feel beautiful and
have a bit of a giggle and a cup of tea.
Exactly. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm not feeling great at the minute. And in fact, we've got a quiz that we both did before we started recording. And I realised when I did it that my quiz put me at the bottom, that I put myself at the bottom of the list, which I am doing right now. There's so much going on.
Just to contextualize the quiz, it's on a website called interact.com, and it asked questions about having fun, laughter, kind of the light side of self-care, but also healthy eating, sleeping, and diet.
Yeah.
So, and exercise. So it kind of covered the kind of main areas of self-care. Sorry, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, no, we'll share the quiz and you see how you fare, and you can let us know. We'll put it up on our Facebook page. And I think that I know what it was going to be. I mean, I'm a mum. I mean, a lot of the time I have to put my kids first because that's what you do as a mum. And it's finding time. So anybody who's a carer of any kind, you know, you do find yourself putting yourself low down on the list, but you're not going to have endless energy, are you? If you're looking after someone else, you need to refill that up. So that's difficult, but at least I'm aware of it, and I know I'll start putting things back in place. What about you, P? What was your self-care result on that one?
Hold on. I lost a tab. Okay, so my result was some self-care. You're managing to put your needs first to some extent, which is really good. But ideally, you need to try and look after the whole of your needs. Sleep, adequate hydration, and exercise are things that tend to get neglected. So true. Possibly because they seem more like work and their benefits aren't as instant as, say, meeting up with friends. They're just as important. So, and more so for your physical health as well as mental health. Yeah, I would say that was really accurate. I have done a lot of fun socializing, went to ABBA, that side of my life has been really nice, and I've also been able to chill a bit because of half term, but I do need to do the physical stuff, you know, a bit less coffee, a bit more water, a bit more exercise.
I've seen you, actually, I think I've seen you definitely raise up in your own self-care. I've seen you look, you know, you've kind of, not that you were really bad, but I'm just saying I've seen you lifted and brightened, and I can see it. I can see it that you just look generally a little bit calmer and a little bit happier and a brighter in yourself, you know, and that's coming through, and that's nice to see. And we know that life is a roller coaster. It's up and down, but it's good to point out those moments when it is up. So yeah, I've definitely seen that in you, Pete, which is great.
Oh, thank you.
So as an ending to our show, there are 5 types of self-care There's physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, and professional. So many balls to juggle there. So many things to keep up. And I think it's really important that you try and just do one thing at a time. Tiny baby steps, just to look after yourself. And P, what would you say, the list of how to really what are the self-care skills?
Okay, so I would say what's really, really important in self-care is that it's a massive industry now, and there's all these sorts of apps and people online and therapists talking about this, that and the other, and Calm app and buy this app, and then all the exercise apps, and it's really easy for it to become a stick to beat yourself with. That that you're not doing enough, and that and then you start to feel guilty when you have a problem, that you have any problems, because you're like, well, surely I should, in the modern world, I should be self-caring, and I should be
the word mindfulness gets thrown around so much at the minute, and it really annoys me. I don't know why. We just like, it's actually like, okay, we get it, right, and it's almost like I just want to say, like, you don't need the app. You don't need an app. You don't need a gym. You don't need a trainer. You don't need a juicer, right? You literally just need to go sit out on a park bench with some water. You need to just go for a walk. You don't need an app. Like, you do it yourself in your time. If you need it, that's great. But I'm saying you don't need. You could fill up your phone with apps on how to do stuff. But I think we all know what we need to do.
I've got a ton of apps on my phone that I never open.
Exactly.
But I do think, I'm not saying this, we're not saying that it's wrong to have a personal trainer or wrong to have an app.
Oh, no.
It's not wrong to use those tools if you want to use them. But don't spend money getting stuff that you then don't use. Like the millions and millions of pounds every year that are spent on gym memberships in January. And then the gyms know that nobody's going to use the membership.
Yeah.
And don't use self-care as a stick to beat yourself with. Just be positive and take steps and be aware of yourself. And I don't mean that in a mindfulness context. I mean, self-awareness is so important, and knowing when to take your foot off the gas, like for you at the moment, probably take your foot off the gas for a bit, and get over your Haribo addiction first. Baby steps.
I'm doing my best. It's a daily struggle. I'm going to group to get help. Listen, we want to thank you all for listening in to Series 2, and for all the new listeners that we've got. We're going to be taking a break for a couple of weeks just for some self-care for ourselves, because we're so busy. Yeah. We need a little break. But we will be back. We will be back with Series 3, which is going to be called Surviving Jobs. And we'd really, really like some interesting guests for the show, because me and P have great jobs. I don't even have a job. But I know my career.
This is your job.
I could talk about my ramblings of what I've sort of done. But we'd love to hear from you. Do you have an interesting or weird job? Do you have a journey that you want to talk about where you ended up in a career you never even knew existed or you'd never thought about? We'd love to hear, and we want to hear about journeys and experiences, because everybody, I think, could do with a little bit of knowledge in feeling confident where they are, or if they have or haven't achieved, and just to hear from some really interesting people. So please get in contact with the show. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at the Auntie M Podcast, or you can email us at auntiempodcast@gmail.com. Or you can just hit me up in the street, seeing as though I told everybody where I am. Where I'm hanging out, And we just want to say thank you to all our new listeners, and thank you to all the guests that came on in this series. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. P, would you like to say anything before we say goodbye to Series 2?
No, just thank you, big love, and practice that self-care gently.
Yes. Practice self-care, babe. Right. We will see you very soon for Series 3. So this is goodbye, Series 2. Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye.
Bye.
And also, I'd like to apologise. There's builders outside doing some sort of grinding.
I love a grinding builder, me.
It's like the Diet Coke ad. Da, 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 da. Except
Oh my God. Imagine if he just popped up with his sweaty torso outside your window.